How are you trying to grow in your own comedy these days?
I treat comedy as a sport that I'm playing, and
Oh.
what are the skills I don't have? Like if I do a joke, I like do it 3 times at an open mic, and if it doesn't work, I sit on it because I
Hmm.
sometimes I think I just don't have the skills that I need to tell that. Even when I like go to an open mic, I'm so hippie. I don't like use terms of like bombing. Like
Uh-huh.
it's just like what did I learn? Maybe it's not to have 4 drinks before I go on. Maybe it was to flesh something out. And then I collectively look at everything as the whole. So I just try not to let any one set get me too low or too high and then
Hmm.
just continue on. So it's like this mental game of like, am I writing? Am I producing new stuff? And really having fun with it.
Jokes in the gym. Jokes in the gym. Not jokes in the gym. Jokes in the gym. Jokes in the gym. With Rudy Tyburczy.
Hello, friends. What is up? It is me, Rudy. I'm Rudy. How are you? Who are you? Who's this? Who's on the line? Oh, sorry. This is one way right now. Sorry about that. I had a delightful conversation with my guest, Julia Corral, this week. It was a really nice convo. We'd only met a time or two, and so it's always such a nice feeling when you get to sit down and chat with somebody for the first time, and it goes well. She's awesome, thoughtful, smart, funny, hardworking, and she has her shit together. And so it was really fun to sit down and chat with her. A witchy straight shooter who loves comedy, and she rocked. So I'm happy that we got to sit down and chat today. You can find her on the socials at the Mex in PDX, like the Mexican in the PDX airport. She says that later in the conversation. Sorry for jumping on your way of helping people remember who you are. But yeah, it's been a good week or two. A lot of big things are kind of happening for me. I haven't given you an update on my time at the Y and my time as a trainer too much recently. And it's not because it's going poorly. It's in fact the opposite. It's going quite well. I've recently been added to the health and wellness team. So if you didn't know, I've been working in membership down at the welcome desk downstairs at the brand new YMCA here in Eugene, and it's been awesome. It's a hard job. It's actually quite hard. It's one of the more demanding jobs I've ever had, especially in the service industry, because there are so many different needs, so many different people, and it's happening constantly. And it involves a lot of really serious stuff. We got to use people's ID and go through background checks and get information and all that kind of stuff and deal with child care and watching children and all that stuff. So the scope of the Y is wide. And I love that. That's one of the things I love about it so much. Anyways, what I was working towards when I got my job at the Y, when I got a job, when I was looking for jobs in the health and fitness industry, I was trying to get a trainer job or personal training or group fitness instruction, that kind of stuff. I'd been working for months or years, really, because when I got out of college in 2006, one of the first jobs I got, well, the first job I got was at a bowling alley, actually. After I graduated college, I got a job at the bowling alley near my house. I was like, here I am, world. Show me your balls. And I actually liked that job. I got to run like down the lanes. I got to run down the bowling lanes. That was part of my job. Run down there. I stuck my head up in there in the machine and I ripped out those different pins that were stuck up in there. So it was actually a pretty cool job. I liked it. And then after that, I got a job at an Anytime Fitness over by a high school in town, and it's no longer around. But that was my first gym job, really. And even then, I wanted to be a personal trainer. I remember that my managers were like, well, if you do this, we'll pay for your personal training certificate or whatever. And it never happened. But over the years, I took classes at the community college to work towards the fitness certificate, the lifestyle specialist certificate at Lane Community College. Shout out to community colleges and Lane. And then after I finished my time at Lane, I got my NASM certification. That's a certified personal trainer certification. And it's kind of the certified personal trainer certification, that's kind of like calling an ATM machine an ATM machine. Anyways, the personal trainer certification is a lot like a college degree in that you need it to get a training job, but just having that certification is not enough to get a training job, just like most jobs in the real world with a college degree. So that was challenging. I got one or maybe two interviews as a personal trainer before I'd ever had experience, and they went all right. They went well, in fact, and the people liked me, but I didn't get the gigs. But I did get the gig at the Y, and that felt good. It felt good from the start, and I've always been really appreciative of the team that I've been a part of. And then recently I brought up to one of the supervisors of the personal training team at the Y that I was interested in becoming a personal trainer, and I had my certification, and we got to talking, and then one thing led to another, and he and the Y offered me a position as a personal trainer. So, starting this month, October, freaking Tobarsta, I'm going to be a personal trainer at the Y. Woohoo! Like, that's so cool. I'm so pumped. I'm so excited that I thought, that all the work I've put in is starting to come to fruition. I'd been really trying to like figure out how to level up recently and like what I needed to do and what I was going to do. And it kind of happened, me getting this position, because I've been putting the work in all year, because I'd been at this position, because I'd been working on my skills and my health and my own fitness and been showing an interest in the community at the Y, and that showing that I also brought something to the Y. And that's been really, really enriching for me because I hadn't necessarily felt that in a while, unfortunately. And so now I feel like I'm a part of this really nurturing community, and that's where I thrive. I think is when the people around you are like building you up and you're trying to do the same for them, and it's like a fun nurturing space. I said this the other day to my friends in the break room. It's like health is like the biggest Ponzi scheme ever. It's like mid-level marketing. It's like, wait, I just get healthy so I can help other people get healthy, and they get healthy, and then they can help other people get healthy. It's like yeah, that's it. You just keep doing it until you're dead. And hopefully when you die, you feel better because you did it so much. And so many other people did too. Like that's kind of how I see health and fitness, is you just keep doing it. And I'm so happy to be spreading the word about this. If I die spreading the word about health, then that's a life well lived, I would say. And so I'm excited that I get to do that in a more hands-on way. I really love one-on-one time. I like people, I like individuals, and I like groups of people at times, but that's often harder for me. And so I'm really excited to be able to get some one-on-one time working with people in a field that I love, that I'm passionate about, that I'm knowledgeable about, and that I want the best for people in. And not only am I going to be a personal trainer one-on-one, but also the associate director of wellness asked me to be in the instructor pool on the team as far as group fitness instructors. So I'll be hopefully leading classes like a boot camp or a TRX, or there's one Flex and Flow I'm going to go to today that I really like. So I'm really excited. I think it's so cool to be able to help other people get healthy and work out, and I'm just friggin' stiggin' pumped, man. And so many people have been so encouraging to me, and it's just felt awesome. So I know there's so much more work to be done. I know I have to really learn the job and get these hands-on experience, get these reps. So if you know people in Eugene who want to work, or if you do, then contact me, reach out. I'm excited to get the opportunity to really help the community in this way, because I think a healthy community is a happy community and a good community, and one that can work together. That's what I'm all about. I want us to work together and just feel better while we're doing it. And so I'm super pumped. I'm super jazzed that I'll be able to get to do these things and share it with so many people moving forward. And who knows what will happen after that. I'm excited to keep the podcast going in the new year. I've got some ideas for this. I've got ideas for other podcasts. I've got ideas for fitness videos and shows and group classes and different things that I'd love to do moving forward. And I will let you know more about those projects as they come to pass. But for now, I just really wanted to share about how excited I am about this next step, because this has been something I've been working towards for decades. And the fact that it's happening now at age 41 is really cool. You know, I've been working out for so long, and people don't typically think I'm 41. They're pretty surprised when I tell them that. And that's cool. That's because I've been lifting. That's because I've been prioritizing strength for the last 25 years. So if you want to know how to look decent at an older age, start lifting 10 years ago. That's it. Like, start lifting and never stop. Lift 3 days a week. Have 3 days of strength. If I could do anything, if I could encourage anyone to do anything, it would be strength train 3 days a week. And then you don't have to have heavy, super duper heavy weights, but you do want to get progressively stronger. So that might mean increasing weights or increasing repetitions, or challenging yourself in new ways. So that's the main thing. If you want to live a longer, healthier, fuller life with less aches, less pains, more vitality, more energy, then strength training is the way to go. And if you can't do a lot, then that's okay. Start with a little and then just gradually work forward. And you listen to your body and get support when you need it, and talk to others. Do it in a group or do it by yourself. Just do it. The best workout is the one you will do. So find a workout that you'll do and do it, and you'll feel better for it. So anyways, that was kind of long. I didn't mean to have the intro be so long. My convo with Julia was a little shorter. I'm trying to keep the podcasts maybe a little shorter moving forward, less than the 90 minutes today. We'll see, because I value your time, and I thank you for spending any of it with me. If you just give it a listen for a minute or two, and that's all you got, great, awesome, super. Thanks for stopping by. I'm stoked. But if you want to hang out and have some conversation on in the background or in your car while you're working out or going for a walk, whatever, I'm happy to be there with you. So thanks. And that's for real. But you know what's not for real is today's fake sponsor. Today's podcast is brought to you by our very fake sponsor, Auntie Ray's Anti-Racist Raisinets. Have you ever had a family member who's kind of racist? They spout bullshit at the family picnic, and you're like, oh, I don't want to be around you very much. Well, use Auntie Ray's Anti-Racist Raisinets. Slip one in their drink, put it in their hot dog, chuck it in their potato salad, and watch it do its work. They'll go from, whoa, I can't believe they moved in, to, look at all these nice people around here. Oh, baby. That's going to be your family. You're going to love them. You're going to have so much fun with your family after they take Auntie Ray's Anti-Racist Raisinets. You're going to be like, woo, boy, I didn't know that people in the South could be this friendly. I hope you like that fake sponsor, because it's not real. Anyways, I also hope you like the podcast today with Julia Corral. She's very real. She's very funny. She's delightful, and she's friggin' smart. So hop on, put in your earbuds, and have a blast. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast, Jokes in the Gym with Rudy Tyburczy. I'm your host, Rudy Tyburczy, and I'm excited to have my guest here today. She is a comedian located up in Portland, Oregon. She's involved in all kinds of stuff. If you want to follow her on the socials, you can at the Mex in PDX. Everyone, put your hands together for Julia Corral. Woo, 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 woo.
Yay!
There she is. Nice. Julia, how you doing today? How you feeling? What's on your mind today?
I'm good. My dog's in my lap being very annoying, so if you hear a little bark, it's her.
Yeah.
I have
Dog.
today off, so I'm enjoying that.
Ooh, nice. Day off. Do you have a day job? Do you have a day job in the PDX?
I don't.
No, nice. So you're full bore comedy.
I am.
Nice. That's always such an impressive step to take. I'm always so impressed with people who do that, especially in markets like somewhere in Portland or the Northwest, that kind of thing. How did you approach that? Was that something you always knew you were like going for? And how has the process been for you? Or what has it been like?
So when I started comedy, I knew I had like always wanted to do comedy. I had done comedy here and then, but when I like came back to really do it, I
Mm-hmm.
like knew, okay, I've waited this long to do it. This is going to be my goal. So what I did for the first 3 years is I actually had a full-time job. I worked for the city of Portland,
Mm-hmm.
and I tracked so I basically like tracked how much money I made the first year. And then when I realized like, okay, this is nothing, then every year I kind of tracked it for 3 years, like how many shows I
Mm.
have to do, what do I have to make, how do I have to reach that goal. And
Mm-hmm.
then I waited until I hit 5 years with the city, knowing I would vest and get a pension. And
Mm-hmm.
so I stayed there, and then I stayed for a couple months. But then I just kind of took the leap,
Mm-hmm.
which it's a lot. I actually just
Right.
last week started the process of getting certified to like be a substitute teacher here in Portland to
Mm-hmm.
like fill that in. Also, sometimes my days get boring, so I was like, oh, I
Totally.
just want to go do something. But yeah, I like it's a lot of work to like budget. It's a lot of budgeting of like, what do I
Mm-hmm.
need to do to pay this? But it's allowed me to travel and do a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, I mean that sounds like you had a plan in order and you like had your shit together and were ready to make the jump forward.
Yeah, I'm very type A.
Okay. Yeah, I read an interview with you in Willamette Week. I think that's where you mentioned that you got good grades and stuff like that in high school. Does that carry over into like your comedy process and or just comedian presence?
I think it does. Like I grew up very like my job growing up was always extracurricular activities like honors, and like I
Mm-hmm.
played sports my whole life, and
Mm-hmm.
like it was always busy, like on the go. So it was like a
Yeah.
very workhorse mentality that I've suffered from in my
Mm-hmm.
adult life. um
Mm-hmm.
but also I feel like the Pacific Northwest doesn't breed competition.
Hmm. What do you mean by that?
I feel like everyone's just kind of like late, like relaxed, like even in work. Like I always felt like people don't have a sense of urgency.
No, they don't. It's
And
just
so
gonna
I
happen when
think,
it happens.
yes. So I think that's always like just stood out for me.
Mm-hmm. And where did you move to Portland from?
I'm from Orange County in California. So I grew up in a city called La Habra, which is kind
Hmm.
of by Disneyland.
Okay, nice. There you go.
Yeah.
Happiest place on earth to Oregon.
Eh,
Uh, so La Habra. I had a question and it lost. It fell out of my head. You know when you're like I'm about to nail Julia with this dope question. She's gonna have so many places she could take this, and then I forget it, and so I have to create a new one. Oh my
it's
gosh.
okay. It's the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, nobody cares. It'll come to me when it comes to me. That's honestly, that is so Northwest. It's like, oh, it'll happen whenever it happens. And that's almost everybody in so many different ways. Is that like grating on you, or do you feel like it helps you kind of be able to get a leg up in some ways?
I think it's both. Like I think I've always been like very like hippie. I've always gone to psychic, so I'm like a big
Mm,
manifester of like
lo-
the universe will give you what it gives you. So I
mm-hmm.
do have that mentality, but yes, it does like give me like a leg up. Also, it's like really hard because everybody's like, "You're so busy," and I was like, "Really, I'm not. I can do more." Um,
Mm-hmm. Do you have that voice in your head that's telling you to do more, or are you often satisfied with where you're at, or do you have that like gotta do more, more, more?
I'm never satisfied.
Mm.
It is a very critiques of my partners.
Y-
they're like, you're never happy. And I was like, well, why would I be happier when there's like, we can be the happiest, like, well, I don't know if you ever watched The Great Depression with Gary Goldman.
Love it. Hugely
Well,
love
when
it.
he talked about how he felt like he was in a competition with no one,
Uh-huh.
he was competing with himself, like, that was like the first time in words that like it encapsulated what I was feeling. Like, no one's
Mm,
asking me to compete. I'm in this
right.
imaginary race with myself.
Yeah. And I mean, when that's good too, when you're internally motivated and you're not in a place that has these clear guidelines for you to follow, it's like, oh, well, I just got to keep doing whatever the hell I can, whatever's in front of me, whatever I can grasp. And sometimes that leads to a very fruitful endeavor. And sometimes you're like, oh, I just wasted 6 months on that thing.
Yes.
What are you pursuing these days? I see that you're involved in like a lot of things like Kickstand Comedy. Can you tell me a bit more about Kickstand and what that is for you and
So
for the scene?
Kickstand is the nonprofit
Uh-huh.
in our a nonprofit improv group.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Ah, okay.
they're just one of the many improv schools in Portland. I had taken some free BIPOC classes with them during the pandemic, and
Mm,
then uh, during the pandemic, they started Comedy in the Park, which is this really awesome show. It happens every Friday in the summer times. We get thousands of people who come. About the
mm,
second year they had it, the original host didn't want to do it anymore, and then they brought me on. So that was my original partnership with them. And now I teach their intro to stand up class.
mm-hmm.
And then I host their weekly Saturday night comedy show.
Fun. Nice. What is my last guest? He taught some comedy to kids, like school age kids in Canada, like elementary style comedy classes. And so, what's on your day one syllabus when you teach stand up to a new class? What's that look like?
So my stand-up's like a little different. I don't give formulas on how to teach. I like explain very differently. My first day of the class is just we play two truths and a lie, and
Mm,
then I explain to them like comedy doesn't have to be truthful. It can be like exaggerative, but these are the questions people want to know. And then I make them write a list of 20 topics. It doesn't matter person, place, or thing. And
mm-hmm,
then we pick one thing and then we get to the meat. Why do you do it? So, my goal in the class is I tell people, like, obviously, you wanted to do stand up for some reason. My goal is to just get you comfortable, get you
mm-hmm.
5 minutes out of you, but this is you. So, I really just teach it more like, it's in you. Let's get it out.
Mm-hmm. So you're helping people kind of mind stuff and just get an idea of what they want to talk about.
Exactly. And it's great. My I'm new to it. So I've
Mm-hmm.
taught, this is my third class. They've all sold out and it's been
Okay.
very fun.
Cool. Yeah, it is fun. Like, I think that that's something that is often missing in comedy communities is this like learning together and growing together, like intentionally. Like we're at shows and we're doing stuff, and so that's one of the things that kind of draws me to fitness and health. I've and that kind of stuff, and like teaching classes, teaching whatever, getting better at the stuff. Um, what are the ways that you are trying to get better? Like, how are you trying to grow in your own comedy these days?
Oh, in my, so like comedy is my hyperfixation. I
Huh.
can talk about it endlessly. It's very annoying.
Uh-huh.
Um, I treat comedy as a sport that I'm playing, and
Oh.
I'm very like, I've only been doing it for 5 years. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
what are the skills I don't have? Like, if I do a joke, I like do it 3 times at an open mic. And if it doesn't work, I sit on it because I
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I think I just don't have the skills that I need to tell that. And when it
Mm-hmm.
happens, so I look at everything, even when I like go to an open mic, I'm so hippie. I don't like use terms of like bombing. Like,
Uh-huh.
it's just like, what did I learn? Maybe it's not to have 4 drinks before I go on. Maybe it was to flesh something out. Um, And then I collectively look at everything as the whole. So I just try not to let any one set get me too low or too high, and then
Mhm.
just continue on. So it's like this mental game of like, am I writing? Am I producing new stuff?
Mhm.
And really having fun with it.
There you go. Like it sounds like you have your priorities pretty straight. Like writing, producing, having fun. That's awesome. That's so cool. Yeah, 5 years in, ready to go. Uh have you ever heard of or read nonviolent communication?
I haven't.
No, okay. It's your approach sounds very not, like by not using these terms like nonviolent or like not using the terms bombing and that kind of stuff. It's like, oh, well, what can I take from this? I love nonviolent communication. It's just essentially talking, it's written in the 70s. I can't, the guy's name is escaping me right now, but it's kind of like he has this Mr. Rogers-esque vibe, but it's talking about communicating in a way so that your audience is going to be more receptive to what you are saying while also listening to what they're saying. And
Yeah, so we'll probably get into this later. We can get into it now. I'm also 1 year into sobriety.
oh yeah, I
And
saw
so
that somewhere. That's awesome.
yeah,
Good job.
so I'm 1 year off of alcohol. And I was even talking about this to somebody when I first stopped drinking. It almost felt like Mount Everest, where I had to tackle this mountain. But after a
Mhm.
year, it just feels like a walk that never ends, but I have to avoid like puddles.
Right. Yes, I saw that. That really spoke to me. How is it going? Does it feel good or how are you feeling now?
It feels good. The week before I didn't know I was going to quit. I just knew
Mhm.
I was getting very paranoid. I was getting very anxious. My personality was changing.
Mhm.
I'm 41, so you can start to see the effect of decades of alcohol with your peers, and that was happening with me. And I reflected within the comedy scene. I was like, why do I care what these people say? I'm old
Mhm.
enough to be their mothers, a lot of them.
Yeah.
Like, I have
Yep.
20 years on them. They're still learning, like, why am I getting so upset? And I was like, oh, this is me. Like, I'm
Mhm.
unhappy. This has
Mhm.
nothing to do with anybody else. So when I first quit, I didn't know I was quitting. I had talked about
Mhm.
it, I had tried it, but I didn't say it. And then it just, a month passed, and then 2 months. And then after 6 months, I said, okay, I'm doing this. A week before a year sobriety, I felt the pangs to relapse a lot. Like, what if I go
Mhm.
to a bar? No one's gonna know. And then I just was
Mhm.
really vocal about it. Like, I want to drink. And people
Mhm.
are like, no, don't. And I just, because I'm not in the program, but it for me, it just after I hit that year, that was just all self sabotage, and that went away. So like,
Mhm.
um, I had to, like all of us did, I self diagnosed neurodivergent during the pandemic.
Mhm.
But for me, what I had realized was I can't, my brain and my body don't work emotionally together. And this is probably why I'm type A. So, like, I
Mhm.
can't notice if I'm sad or happy. And
Mhm.
so, like, when people do a set and they're like really sad after their set, or they're really so happy they don't shut up. Like,
Mhm.
I was like, I don't understand how people get so horny for themselves. I'm not like that. And then I realized, oh, I am like that. I'm just drinking 8 beers and I
Yeah.
don't know how I'm trying to silence myself. So now, even when I name my feelings, even when I don't know what
Mm.
they are. So I'll give it a
Mhm.
name to at least know that I've changed. My husband will be like, "You're so mad at me right now." I was like, I feel nothing. I'm not mad. And he's like, you're seething. And then I have to acknowledge, like, okay, there's something in my body. So, yes, I probably am
Mhm.
mad. It just hasn't hit my brain yet.
So when that happens, how do you assess? Do you go for a walk or like what do you do? If like something's hitting you or you're impacting someone in a way you don't know.
I'm a lot in my mind, so I try to go over that. I mean, luckily I do go for a lot of walks now. Recently I've been going for a lot of walks. We just
Mhm.
adopted a new dog. She's very
Mhm.
needy, so it's constantly like taking her, and I've been like re-listening to music because
Mhm.
I will let you know, I am coming off really good right now. but I have
Uh-huh.
two speeds, and it's 100 or 0. And when I'm not at 100, I have agoraphobia and I'm locked to my couch for hours. So
Mm-hmm.
it's making myself get out and do that.
Mm-hmm. No, I feel you there. I most of the time I've been at home so much lately. Like especially after having day jobs, interacting with people all day, it's like harder to peel myself off that couch and do stuff that includes being social. And a lot of my social time comes from the mics, and now I'm getting social time during the day, so it's like kind of readjusted like my everything from my sleeping patterns to my socializing happens. I've had maybe 8 or 10 drinks all year. So I'm in this place that I never really thought I'd be either with drinking. And it feels really good. Like not going out and having booze be the default is such a relief. Like I don't know if you feel that way, but it's like been a godsend.
Uh, so when you are struggling with alcohol, and I've now understand, like, there were a lot of people who I knew sober, like you'd be like, I want to stop, I want to stop. And now I'm that person where people come up to me and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
it's up to you, you do you. But
Mm-hmm.
also, if you want to stop, stopping is the best gift you can give yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's hard to, because like we're both 41. Booze was so, it just was just like a thing of our generation. I feel like it, like I started drinking in high school, like
Mm-hmm.
14, 15, and
Right.
never stopped, and it just was something that was always there and you always did. And it just was like the thought of even going to the movies without a beer just seemed like,
Right. What?
yeah,
Why? Why would we do something if we're not getting blitzed during?
100%. And then you realize like, so I read a lot and you realize like, oh, why do people like sports so much? Because it gives them an excuse to start drinking at 8 in the morning. And like I used to love World Cup. I hate soccer, but World Cup I could start boozing at 5 a.m.
Let's go. Yeah, I'm ready for it to freaking take it to these Dutchmen or whatever.
Exactly.
It's so fun. Yeah, and like I mean, I lived overseas in Korea for so long and for 7 or 8 years, and it's
And you
the
have to drink.
exactly. It's
It's
like the heaviest drinking culture I've ever been a part of. Like you think we drink here, it's like businessmen on Tuesday are getting blasted at 10 p.m. and passing out on the streets. It's kind of wild.
and it's like, because I went to Korea just like on like to visit some friends for a week or
Fun.
two, and
Nice.
it's like, yeah, if you tell your boss no, you can't. You
Yeah.
have to drink.
What do you mean not cheers right now?
Yeah.
Like we're doing this. And so like but it was also like so fun when you're on a trip or when you're like in a different place with different people like yeah, let's have drinks after the show. Let's go to the beach and get yeah, the hammered and do all sorts of fun stuff. It was such a fun time in my life when I was drinking and I loved buying people drinks. You know, that
Oh,
was
me
one of the
too.
most do a round. I'm happy to buy a round. Like, yes, I will waste my money on my friends' inebriation. Sign me up. So I'm glad I'm past it, but it's also I'm not going to act like it wasn't fun or you don't get some things out of it. I'm just like 41 now and I want to have a Saturday morning. Sorry, that sounds more appealing than getting wasted.
Yeah, and I also think it's like how you're leveled to be able to drink. By the end, I couldn't. It wasn't fun. It
Mhm.
was fun for me, but no one else.
Yeah. Did you get like loud and how did booze come out of you?
I'm just, well, first of all, I'm very short. I'm 5 foot.
Oh.
It just like, I churned. And after my mom passed, it got really bad. And then my
Mm.
husband would tell me, this is wild. My husband, and this is, I know this is true because this has happened to me with other people. My husband would be like, I feel like you aren't fighting with me. I feel like you're like, you're drunk and you're reverting to being a child and you're yelling at your parents. Like,
Mm.
like you're trying
Mhm.
to be heard. also I'm really blunt, and so I just was like way more blunt,
Yeah.
and then sometimes very insightful. It just was just it was never one. It was always nine.
Yeah. Yeah. It was easy. It's easy to do 9 sometimes. It was
But now
like,
I can't even imagine holding that much liquid in my body either.
oh, it sounds horrible. I have to pee like 5 times if I drink a cup of tea. Like, it's wild.
100%. But the cool thing is like all the inflammations left my body and I feel
Mm.
like a different person.
Oh, it's such a blessing. Yeah, like when you can feel your joints or your back doesn't hurt in the same way, it's like, oh, my insides aren't sore right now. I'm okay with that. When your husband gave you that piece of feedback, like I feel like you aren't fighting with me, like that's really insightful, and that would potentially be hard to hear. Like when you heard it, were you able to hear it, or was it something that you had to like chew on to get to eventually?
No, I was able to hear it. You know, I've been with my husband for 14 years now.
Awesome.
And we use we'll fight, we'll scream, but then when we can calm down from our anger, we can
Hmm.
use direct language. And he was the first partner I had ever had that said this, what I thought was really beautiful. He said, I have to tell you these things about yourself that are unpleasant, not because it's
Mm.
mean, because I love you too much for you not to know. And like
Mm.
I always
What a
say, like,
guy.
I know.
What a guy.
Yes, so he's very like he's very care. You know what? He's the middle of 9 kids. He's 5 out of 9,
Oh.
so he's very sensitive.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, he can feel it all. He's in the middle of all that chaos right there.
Y- Yes, and
Where
so I like even if our communications like to the outside world, he's very quiet, and in our house, he doesn't shut up. But
uh-huh.
I'm to the outside world, I don't shut up, but in our house, I'm very quiet, and it's because I was raised
Oh.
like an only child. So when I'm
Mm.
home, I'm just like submersed in TV or in my thoughts or
Yeah, no, I feel you. Like it does. I like going out and doing stuff and socializing, being around people, but it takes it out of me. Like I feel it afterwards, and then I come home and just kind of don't want to do anything. It's so nice to be able to be on that couch with the dog in your lap or whatever. Like that's so great.
yeah.
What you mentioned sports growing up, doing stuff all the time. What was that like for you? What did you do when you were younger?
I played softball from 5 to 14 and then I
Mm.
did cheer
Mm.
um from 14 to 18. I
Hmm.
well, it was the 80s 90s and I
Right.
was a very nervous kid all the time, and instead of like acknowledging that I had anxiety, um
Hmm.
my mom would just buy me like the extra large Pepto Bismol, and I would chug that like every day. Every day I was just so nervous
And filled with Pepto.
and filled with Pepto. It
That's
doesn't
kind.
even work on me anymore.
What is it? What was the hope there? Was the hope there that your like insides would be coated blissfully like that commercial shows, and then like, oh, well, now I'm at peace.
No, I think my mom just didn't know what anxiety was. Like she knew what depression
Uh-huh.
was, but she didn't know what anxiety was. And so like I was like my stomach hurts.
Yeah.
Like
And
I'm like throwing up. That was probably like a very long bout of undiagnosed OCD. Like, you know, as a kid, like it's like
mhm.
I had to play softball and then we also went to church. And so then I'm learning about the apocalypse and I'm thinking Jesus is coming back and I'm just
Right.
chugging Pepto.
Most people have their coffee in the sermon. You're like, oh, I got my shots of Pepto. I got my Pepto flask. Uh, so, how did church? Is church and faith part of your life at all now, or did you stray from the church?
So we grew up, well, I'm very spiritual. We grew up Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
Then my parents were like addicts and also very strict. Like my mom did a really good job of protecting me.
Mm-hmm.
So like when I was in junior high, I wasn't allowed to hang out with like I basically got indoctrinated into this like big mega church because she just felt safe that knowing I was there. But it really
Uh-huh.
like fucked me up.
You're like part of the Righteous Gemstones style
It was
church.
like that. It was
Yeah.
very intense. And then I left it. And then I got really into like card reading.
Okay.
But then
Tarot
I
and
felt
whatnot.
like I suffered like spiritual psychosis because I got so good into that. And then
Mm-hmm.
I just left it. But now I'm like I'll be like, I see angel numbers so much. And then I was like, am I seeing angel numbers or am I just always on my phone looking at the time?
Yeah. Angel numbers are like 1111.
Yes.
Yes, I love those numbers. I'm very happy when I see 555 or whatever. I'll pause the games, I'll look at the clocks, all this stuff.
And
Yeah.
you're supposed to manifest.
How?
You do a mantra when you see the angel numbers.
Oh, like you create your own mantra or there's a special one out there?
You can look at special ones, but I always create like a new one. Like when I see an angel number, it's very like you are on the right path. You've made all the
Mhm.
correct decisions.
I'll just grab one of my uh tea bags
Exactly.
and like, yes, your bliss is in the future. Okay,
Oh,
great.
I am so annoying to people. I'm always like,
Yeah.
maybe you're just not manifesting correctly.
Yeah. No wonder you and Sabrina are friends, huh? Like
Sabrina's more witchy.
she's more witchy, you're more earthy?
Did you know that when Sabrina lived in Portland, people confused us constantly?
Really?
Like we'd be on show, like I'd be on a podcast,
Yeah.
like they thought they were talking to Sabrina. We'd be brought up as each other. Like we'd be billed as our own name and introduced as the wrong name.
Oh my god, that is
And I don't even think we look
ridiculous.
anything alike.
I'm not seeing Sabrina in you right now. No.
And she has such a better personality.
Better schmetter. Sabrina, I love Sabrina. She's one of my dearest friends, and she makes me she lights up a room. She makes me feel good. Like she's like a fun person to be around, and she's so supportive.
100%.
It's like I was so saddened by her leaving Eugene, and I'm sure many people were when she left Portland.
Yeah. They're not
Oh
going
my,
to be when I leave.
yeah. Like, oh, thank God, Sabrina's gone again. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, it goes to show, like, I'm so plugged into the election cycle right now. It's insane. It's brutal, and there's so much racism left in the country. Just whether we know it or not, it's just like there all the time, and I'm sure you are experiencing it very regularly. Or how do you experience being the Mex in PDX?
You know, there's like, it comes in different forms. Like, the one thing I hate during election season, especially with Trump, is like
Mm.
when white people tell me, like, how can a Latino vote for Trump? And it's like, what? We have racists too. Like, you don't
Yeah.
own that. Like, what? And then, like, we're an anomaly. I feel like I get asked to do a lot. Being a BIPOC in Portland, or what it DI, whatever the acronym they're using now, is
Mhm.
this very beautiful thing because it's severe microaggressions, but also the ability to bond with another brown person on a more deep level that I
Mhm.
feel like I've gotten better friends because of that. Like this community that I didn't know existed. And I get to be a part of a lot of communities out here.
Mhm.
Um, I am way too cynical to think that, like, I'm like, they already know who won. This is a dog and pony show.
Yeah.
But then I still vote, like, uh, I vote blue. I was raised in a very crazy Democratic household. Our
Mhm.
household, we secret ballot. No one really talked about it. We encourage voting. My whole family went out, waited in line,
Cool.
and voted. And then when I was about 9, my mother sat down and she actually gave me a social justice talk. And
Mm.
she was like, I was on welfare when I was a teen mom. I now have a job. I've paid it back. You were
Mhm.
never better than anybody.
Mhm.
Be very aware. So, like, for me, like, I can understand people's opinions. I could see where they come from. I
Mm-hmm.
don't tend to get angry at them, but for me, I like even with wealth and disparity, like I just think you need what you need to survive, and there's
Mm-hmm.
no need for like hoarding. And so I can have these conversations, but also I'm like I don't care.
Yeah. It's water off
Like
my back.
but it is but this is okay, so this is my theory about racism in the Pacific Northwest.
Okay.
I don't think the white people in Oregon, oh, some of Oregon, it's changed, but like in
Mm.
Washington, I think inherently my generation or people I grew up with, their parents really strive to teach them not to be racist, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But also, there's so many white people here. Race was only a theory. So it was like almost taking a college course that you've never actually had to apply it. Or like when you learn
Mm.
Spanish in college, you know the gist, or in high school, but then when you actually are in there learning slang and have to apply it, it's completely different. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's what happens up here a lot, where
Mm.
it's like they, yes, inherently I know you're not judging me, but also you haven't been around a brown person, so what you say and what you act.
Mm-hmm. It changes and it shows these biases you have, whether you know it or not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I grew up also like I was raised Chicano.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know what a Chicano is.
Please inform me.
So a Chicano is like Mexican Americans
Mm-hmm.
who are acclimated into the American culture that still define their roots in being Mexican American. So we've acknowledged that we're not from Mexico and there's a difference, but
Mm-hmm.
they're still keeping that culture alive. And
Okay.
so my childhood was a little different because every day my mom was very like, well, white people do this
Uh-huh.
and we do this.
Right.
And so when I get older, I'm still the same way, like,
Yeah.
because my husband's white. And so I'll just be like, well, that's a white person thing. And he's like, you're generalizing me. And I was like, nah.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. Whatever. Uh does it wear on him at all?
100%. There are things after 14 years that we have discovered in just the way we were raised. It's
Mm-hmm.
actually, I find this very, I was raised in Orange County. We were middle class. I was
Mm-hmm.
very spoiled. I had like I graduated from college. This was just everyone like grew up with. We all graduated. This was things we needed to do.
Mm-hmm.
We were living a more affluent life. I've only had really great jobs, whereas my husband's the middle of 9 kids. They lived on a farm. I think my husband's quintessentially had a more immigrant experience in this country than I have,
Yeah.
but
I'm with you.
also I'm not white passing at all. So
Right.
we see the difference. Even just like the idea of being grateful,
Mm-hmm.
we see in different ways. Like
Okay.
if
How
he
how
makes
so?
me a dinner and I don't like it, I'm just like,
Yeah.
why'd you make me this? And he's like, just say nice, like please and thank you. It's like, but I'm not
Uh,
thankful for
it
it.
sucks.
And I've learned how to be like, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't even buy that. Yeah. That's so funny. Uh yeah, but I think that touches on some really interesting ideas. I'm a first generation American. My mom wasn't born here. My dad's mom is from Syria. My dad's from Poland, or their families were. And so it's like, but yeah, I'm white passing, but I'm a first generation American. I have no connection to the States other than being from here and being having it. I don't want to say I have no connection to the States. I'm an American citizen, a US citizen, born here, raised here, thankful for that. But I don't have this deep connection to some ideology associated with the States like so many people might, because my mom was from Norway and she came here as a little Norwegian kid, you know? So it's been interesting to kind of like grow up with that and not necessarily feel this like strong connection to so many things that a lot of people do, you
It
know?
it's so funny. I was listening to this song called like Redneck Woman by Gretchen Wilson. It's like one of my
Okay.
favorite songs.
Nice.
And I love country music.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband's always like, for your beefs about white people, you love their music. And I was like, because like being poor, like class structure is a form of like, that's also a minority. You know, the struggles are the same in certain ways. I don't know. I was like, it's very dichotomy. I'm talking about wasps. You know, there's
Yeah.
like layeredness of what I'm talking about. But yes, it is weird, and I do think that's like because I'm fourth generation. You know, my
Mm.
grandparents were born here,
Mm-hmm.
and so I think that's like people assume that all the time with me. Like I did have a beautiful microaggression though, by a
Mm.
white woman in Portland.
Oh yeah,
Um,
let's hear it.
she asked me if I was Aztec or Mayan. Like
she she must have just read a book or something,
I,
an article.
like
Like, what'd you say? How'd you respond?
I was like, I don't have the lineage of that dead civilization.
Actually, I'm Incan. I'm an Inca. Did you ever play that old school computer game, the Incas? Do you remember this? We are the Incans, kings and knights. No,
No,
okay, yeah, maybe I made it up. I often remember these little earworms.
you
I,
didn't make that up. That
uh,
is ingrained in you.
it's in there, yeah. Do you remember a Gatorade song? I keep asking. Gatorade thirst quencher. Does that?
No,
No. Okay. What else? No. Okay. Great.
but every commercials are different
Yeah.
regionally. Games.
Yeah. They are. Yeah. You ever? I've never been to the South, but I hear it's wild. Have you ever been to the South?
I have. I spent time in Austin this year, and then I've
What?
been in Nashville. But that's probably. Oh, and yeah.
What was Austin like? How'd you find Austin?
Oh, I went for comedy. A bunch of us went
Right.
for 2.5 weeks. Got an Airbnb and checked it out.
How was it?
I didn't mind it. Like, uh, I got a lot of stage time. I like
Mm-hmm.
got to see it. There were very offensive jokes that I heard. Um, but I guess I it's not a tolerance for offensive jokes where it's like I'm like such a believer in like freedom of speech that
Mm-hmm.
like the beauty of freedom of speech is, we get to live in this country where we say a lot of things, like get to speak our mind. But the hard thing is, it's like then you have racists spewing their views, but they are words, and I tend to think that like, especially in comedy, if someone's spewing these things, if it's not funny, it's not gonna fly. Like
Right.
that's it. If it's not smart, people are gonna reveal themselves in their characters in the which they write. So
Mm-hmm.
those tend to not like bother me. But I think I did go to an open mic and there was like literally 25 rape jokes that I had to listen to where you're like, I'm scared. But
Yeah.
that is like, but then I saw some, but those are their open mics. But I saw some really funny comics and I got charged and I realized like the amount of stage time they get, like, oh, I need to get better. I need more reps. So
Mm-hmm.
I did tend to look at the positiveness of that.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. When you see or meet comics from Austin, like there's a very different vibe. Like even uh, uh, Uncle Laser did a show here in town, and
Oh, I saw Uncle Laser.
yeah, and he was surprisingly funny. Like he had some whatever slightly offensive material, but it's like for being a couple years in, like he's doing his thing.
When I see somebody like that, like sometimes people are like, oh, it's the Kill Tony thing or the TikTok. I think what a great business mind. You were
Yeah.
able to capitalize while you were hot. mark
Yeah.
it, strike that. I need that in me. So like I do tend to
Mhm.
think like when you see these people, I think they're underrated where it's like, oh well they're TikTok. Well, who cares? This is the future we lived on and they were able to capitalize like on that. And
Mhm.
that's what we need to, I don't know. I'm always like this fun day, like I want to do comedy forever. I want to make my
Mhm.
living off of that. I'm always impressed and I try to see like how are they doing that? What are they doing at what avenues did they take? What do I need to do?
Yeah, there's so much we can learn from everybody else's journeys. Not necessarily that we're going to emulate it, but there might be something that we can emulate just a bit of and be like, "Oh, yes. If I want to make the most of this situation, I have to be fucking ready." That's the other part about it.
It's like music to my ears. I can't wait to see you when I go down to Eugene. We're gonna just be like life coaching each other. Just like
Oh yeah, I'm all here for the support, Julia. Yes, you will be. I can't. I'm not even going to attempt to compare you to Sabrina. Okay, I won't even do that. No, I'm. It's so nice to. That's what I like about these conversations. It's like, how can we grow together? How can we get ideas that get us moving in the right direction? And a lot of time, I'm not like prescribing anything. No one's prescribing anything to me. We're just asking questions back and forth, and hopefully, there's something we can take from it.
yeah, you know, it's very like yeah, it's very beautiful. Like my journey like kind of like once my mom passed, I was devastated and I was healed because there was
Mm,
no, and then my grandma passed soon after. But I felt
mm,
like there was no one left on this planet for me to embarrass except
mm,
myself.
mm,
And then I kind of had to become like the own master of my like universe. And like Pete Holmes does the spiritual podcast. He had Nicole
mm,
Byer on one time. This is I listened to this before my mother passed, but
mm,
both of her parents passed, and she had
mm,
talked about like Pete Holmes was crying when she talked about it, and she was like, "Listen, my dad was really healthy, and he died of a heart attack. My mom was not healthy; she died of a heart attack. We just die." And people who still have their parents, it's very hard for them to get that because I hope no one has to feel that for many years. This is like a very big thing. But then when you realize, like, oh, I now have to take care of myself and do
mhm,
this, and I have to find purpose for myself and not really care about what anybody else does. I,
mhm.
one of the things me and my husband do, which is so amazing and so beautiful, and I urge everyone to do it. We actually talk about how we can be better people. Like,
Awesome.
so whether that's like, you're in line for like Popeyes and there's somebody who's hungry outside, do you have an extra money just to get the meal and leave them? Do you
Mhm,
help your friend move? What can we
mhm,
do to kind of be better people?
mhm.
Also, we're very big haters too. So we do
Oh
talk
yeah.
a lot of shit as well. There's a
You get,
very fine balance.
I love that balance. That's an important balance. Like, yes, I can sleep at night after I've said these vile hate, not, after I've been drinking my haterade, because also I know it is kind of in jest. I'm not doing it in a way to hurt others, and the actions I take are those of love. Are the ones that are hopefully going to spread a little joy to the people around me.
Yes, and this was also like probably me realizing like I grew up not nice. I
Okay.
wasn't very always nice as a person.
Yeah.
I remember when I moved to Portland, I worked at Nordstrom and I
Mhm,
didn't they tricked me. I was selling shoes at a really high paying like Nordstrom, like
mhm,
in California, to the Lloyd Center, which is a dime mall, which is like awful. I was making like $750 a week, which probably was still fine, but it was really like a hard or like paycheck was like a hard like thing for me to stomach. And I remember
mhm,
like I was 28 or 29 and I had this boss and she was such a bitch.
Mm.
And she was so mean to me. But it was the first time in my life that anyone had ever been mean to me.
Oh.
And I had been a bitch to so many people. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, this doesn't feel good.
I don't like being this kind of person.
And then, yeah, and then that was like a good turning point for me. I was like, oh, and then probably drinking made me be that bitchy. But I don't know. I'm blunt. I like being mean. I think it's fun. I grew
Yeah.
up in a house that roasted.
Uh-huh. And oh my gosh, you are in a region that does not grow up with that. Oregon is not that at all. It's like the exact opposite of that in so many ways. Like I can't tell you how many conversations I may have had with family members or friends about how I said something, even if I may have said the appropriate words, they may not have been communicated in a way that allows that person to hear because I wasn't like soft enough for them to receive it. My delivery wasn't in the space for them to hear it. And that can be so challenging.
It is. It is. Like, you know what's like I'm very black and white thinking, and it's really
Mm-hmm.
funny. I like can really sense when something's off with a person. This is my
Yeah.
gift. Because
Nice.
I always say 1 + 1 has to equal 2. And if it doesn't, then I can't be around that person. Something's
Okay.
off. And
Yeah.
like my friends are always telling me, they're like, oh, it took me a while, but now I see what you see. And I was like, finally. But I'm probably the same with some people. And I tell people, like, not all of us interact, but I feel that on the stage a lot too, with this Gen Z being a little softer. I do think it's beautiful how they are acknowledging like sexual assault and like racism and all the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But also I feel like my age does show sometimes about even the way I like address comedy on stage. They probably
Mm-hmm.
see me like as like a 90s comic up there.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of feels like that sometimes. Even when you're just like some 40-year-old, I'm like, I'm just 40. I'm not 79. And I feel like some of my views are so antiquated sometimes. Like I'm living in the freaking past.
Antiquated for sure. For sure. I don't even know. I was on a road trip to go do Gwen's show in Eugene.
Nice, Gwen
Okay,
Ray.
so first of all, and with this the feature, his name's Lucas Kopp. He's very funny, but he's 24. I
Mm-hmm.
said, Lucas, I feel so out of touch with the kids of today. What are you guys listening to on the radio? And he
Yeah.
said, you're so old. None of us are listening to the radio.
The radio?
And then I did this show at Max's Tavern in Eugene, and I won them over, but it was a big group of sorority girls. So many sorority girls. And then I
Mm-hmm.
did one joke that didn't work because I said Woody Allen, and
Mm-hmm.
they're like, no one knows who that is. They're like, say Wes Anderson.
We don't even know Woody Allen. Yeah, I'm so old that I say antiquated. I feel like that's my I just don't say I don't even say the things the words that kids say. I work with like 18 and 20-year-olds right now, and so it's kind of actually fun to work with people of that age that are like my coworkers, and I'm like, "Oh, the other day someone told me I was older than their parents." And I'm like, cool." Like that is insane.
I did Reed College, and I had a host. I did a comedy event for Reed College, which
Mm-hmm.
was really fun because there was no restrictions.
Nice.
But I was like, I graduated from college in 2006. And they
Same.
were all like, ah.
Yeah. Yeah, one of my coworkers, I was like, "What year were you born?" And she goes, 2006. I'm like, "That's when I graduated college." Cool. But it's also just fun. It's like that's I work at the Y right now, and so it's fun to work with people from every age from 6 weeks to 85 years old. It's great to see that.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. And so I do like being around kids but just for limited time periods. Like I don't need too much of you.
My niece is 12, and we went thrift store shopping with her girlfriend, and I forgot like how cute it was for like in junior high they just buy things because they think it looks cool. Like one of
Yeah.
them bought an Adventure Time shirt, and I was like, that's my favorite show. And I thought I was
Yeah.
going to talk to this kid about it, and they're like, I've never seen it.
I just like the sword. Yeah. It's the same. Yeah, so many kids in Korea. When I lived in Korea, people would have curse words on their shirts. They would have all kinds of wild things on their shirts. Like kids would have "fuck" written on their jacket while holding hands with their parents. I know this because I have a picture that pops up on my screensaver
Oh
sometimes.
no, we love the writing on it. Korea was the only place I've ever been to in Asia, but I was like,
Mhm.
I could just go there forever. I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, no one. It's like a lot of us did go there for many years. It was like for me, it was like college with more money and less responsibility. People
Oh,
from
100%. Well, that was the thing. Like, my two girlfriends, one was teaching in Busan and one was teaching in Seoul. And I was like, well, I
perfect.
have to go.
Yeah,
But
perfect.
I think I was like in my 30s, so I felt a little too old. I went to like, it was called like Saturday Party or Friday Party. It was like a bar. And I
Yeah,
was like, I can't be in here.
it's not great. Yeah, did you get to a hoe bar? There's hoe bars all over the country. That
I did it.
yeah, it was hoe bar was one of the few places me and a couple friends got kicked out of for being foreigners. We went
Oh,
to
yeah.
Jeju Island, which is billed as the Hawaii of Korea. Essentially, it's not. It's a town that's an island. It's fine. It's nice. But we went into a hoe bar. There's three of us. They're both Canadian. One of them was Romanian. The other guy's Filipino. And we went in, and they're like, "Oh, sorry, you guys, no, you can't come in." They give us the crossed arms. They say you can't come in and all that jazz. And we're like, really? And they're like, yeah, sorry. No, you can't come in. And we're like, all right. So we leave and we're walking down the street. And one of the guys must have felt bad about this. And he came up and he just clarified. He's like, it's nothing against you. It's just that you're foreigners. And we're like, oh, that makes it better.
It's not you. It's you.
It's not you. It is you, though. So have fun out there. Um, this is Jokes in the Gym, and I would be remiss if I didn't at least ask you kind of what you're doing these days for the physical side of your well-being. How do you incorporate that into your life? Is that something you think of? Yeah, and where kind of are you at this time?
So so this is what's really I'm thick right now. I have
Uh-huh.
not I'm adult thick. I got something called PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome.
Hmm.
I've probably already had it, but it's like this hormonal thing, and I'm going through perimenopause. So
Hmm.
weight gain is very is something that I'm working on, but the cutting off drinking has helped. I
Hmm.
also like had uh very bad eating disorder in my 20s, so like
Hmm.
my husband is very he weighs his food, he works out 2 hours a day, he is
Oh,
like
wow.
he takes care of himself, working out is like his passion. So we
Hmm.
get very like, I was like, you need to just make me food and don't tell me what's in it. I don't need to think of calories, I don't
Hmm.
need to think of anything that's like on a diet journey.
Hmm.
But from there I feel like I've just been like getting outside more to do things. And I've
Hmm.
also been reaching out to people where I rarely say no anymore. Like if somebody wants to go do something, let's go
Hmm.
do it, cuz it usually like involves walking, which is
Hmm.
better than staying home. Like today me and my girlfriend are going on a Costco date.
Perfect.
So, I do find that just being outside, the problem is it's like I feel like before comedy, I had like a rich world of hiking, and now it's like all these late nights and you're sleeping in late. So I've just been
Hmm.
trying to go to bed early to get outside.
Hmm.
And I don't know. I feel like it works. I'm very fortunate. My in-laws have a 20
Hmm.
acre farm. So
Mm.
we get to go out to the country a lot. and
Love
be
it.
out there.
Yeah.
We've been doing a lot of farmers market trips.
Fun.
Yeah, so I would say for me, it's just walking.
Yeah.
And I tell people this, and I tell people because it's like hard in Portland. I feel like nobody puts their kids into sports.
Really?
Yeah, I feel like
Huh.
none of my like nieces, well, like none of them are doing sports. But I feel like because I did sports so much as like a child, I feel like I
Mm-hmm.
have a strong body as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
So even gaining weight, my body's still
Mm,
able to because it had like that
yeah.
strong foundation.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it doesn't like just go away, go away. It takes some time to, if you have goals that you want to like meet and stuff, yeah, you got to adjust some.
But my
How?
goals are crazy. I'm like,
Yeah.
because I'm starting to lose weight and I was like 75 pounds.
Yeah. You're like,
You know,
let's get there now.
it's like I want to be 102 pounds. Like,
Yeah.
it's never realistic.
Yeah. You're like, well, yeah, okay, all right, okay, yeah, I could be in the next Marvel movie by 2026 or
That's
whatever.
what it is. It's like I'm on TikTok, how to lose 20 pounds in 1 month. Like it's always irrational.
Yeah. Well, good luck with that. But it does sound like you're taking the steps you want to be taking, that you should be taking, to
Yes,
just be healthy.
I'm on the no smoking is my next big goal.
Mm-hmm. And that's a hard one too. Like again, like oh my gosh, I've when I lived in Korea, cigarettes were everywhere. $2.50 for a pack of cigarettes. You could smoke in bars. You could drink until all hours. I worked at 2 to 7 p.m. job or something ridiculous like that. And so it was just like we were going at it.
And the Koreans get it.
They get it. They're like, yeah, okay, he's dragging today.
Well, no, but like the markets, like I went, they don't open till 10, but then they're also like climbing mountains.
Oh yeah, constantly. Koreans love exercise. Koreans are on mountains. They're wiggling around. There's outdoor. Did you ever see an outdoor gym in Korea?
Yes, and as an American, you're so baffled. You're like, how is none of this stolen or graffitied? Like, it's so beautiful.
It's pristine, almost like in the middle of a giant city, and you're like, I feel safer here than I kind of have anywhere else. There's 20 million people in this city, and I'm chilling.
Yeah.
Uh, and so the Koreans do have a lot of stuff figured out because they are able to, create a cool society and follow directions pretty well. I think both that like mindset of a lot of Eastern Asian cultures, the communal mindset versus the independent mindset we have here in the States, we can learn from each other. There's so much you can learn from each other. There's so much to learn from doing things together and from doing stuff on your own.
Yeah.
So it's always kind of challenge. It was always challenging coming back to the States and whatnot. So what oh I'm trying to keep this closer to an hour these days. You know what I mean? It's like I love a long conversation. I can chat with anybody for hours. But I do think it is important to kind of like keep and keep it in mind. So one of the questions I do kind of tend to end with is, what kind of advice, what kind of input would you give your younger self, be that in comedy or in as a person? I think we've taken a journey throughout your life and heard a lot of things about you, but what kind of things do you wish you could maybe impress upon younger Julia in some way or another?
I wish for younger me, I like, I try to not think that I'm special.
Mm,
Like I always say that in like anxiety is the most conceited of the social, like of your mental illnesses, because you just think the world, and I just think I like wasn't afraid so much. I like, I feel like I didn't move away fast enough. I moved to Portland in my 30s, and
mm,
it's easy to just start a new life.
mm-hmm,
You could basically be a barista and rent a room anywhere and like make friends.
mm-hmm.
I wish I would, it was like the same thing with comedy. I wish I would have just started because I just let fear rule my life so much,
Mm-hmm.
just being anxious. And it's like, we're all anxious, I have to remind myself, like, I literally will, and take care of your mental health. Like now, like the other day, I had such a crazy like OCD relapse earlier this year that I
Mm-hmm.
convinced myself I was going to die in a plane, that I
Mm.
ended up taking like the train to Austin and
Oh.
back, and then the
Hmm.
train to Chicago and back, cuz I was like, I can't fly. And then finally I had to go to Denver. My air ticket was paid for to perform.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got in the plane and I was like, "Oh, I'm fine with flying." Like, you know what I mean? I just like,
Yeah.
I let my anxiety overrule myself, and I
Mm-hmm.
just try to tell myself, like, you could be scared. And then my best friend, he gives the best advice. He is so funny. He was
Mm.
like, "Listen, you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Like, you do your life and your life's going to be good. Or you're going to die and it's going to be over so fast, and then you get to see your mom." And I was
Yep.
like, "Oh, that is beautiful." And that's how I
Yeah.
think of the world now.
Yeah. I love that. And that's on it. Last week, Mike Kaplan said essentially the same thing. It's like either I all the stuff happens that I want to happen and it doesn't matter, or I die and it still doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Essentially, like once you get some kind of acceptance around loss and death, I think then life becomes a lot more open. You're the one who's gone through a lot of it. Does that feel accurate, or am I just spewing nonsense?
No, it does. I mean, this is the thing, like, well, I'll tell you the real story.
Mm,
When I was 18, I went to a psychic,
mm.
and she told me that I was born under a lucky star
Oh,
and my life was going to be very easy, and
oh,
that people were going to be jealous of that.
oh, wow.
And I've always had that in my head. That's kind of been my mantra. I have an easy life. My life's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mom died, but it could be worse. I had my mom until I was 41. There's all those things, like I have a symmetrical face, I have a great brain, I have the
Mhm.
ability to make people laugh. These are all very benefits that I think of it. And so I tend not to ever like dwell on like the like bad things. Cause it's
Mhm.
like my life's pretty awesome. It could be better. I could have more money, but
Yeah.
also I'm not working. I'm just chilling with you right now.
Heck yeah, I love
I
that.
have the cutest dog.
Hi, monkey.
It's good.
Yeah. I love that because, those are just stories you're telling yourself.
Yeah.
And so often the stories we tell ourselves are the exact opposite of what you just mentioned. So to hear someone be like, "Yeah, I'm chilling. I got a dog, a cute face. My mom's gone, but that's okay." Like, how easy would it be to put those stories on their head and make them not so positive? So easy. And so for the fact that you're able to do that in the face of challenges, I think it just speaks highly of who you are
Yeah.
and how right that lady was.
How right that lady was. It's
Ha-
three psychics all told me I was gonna live till I was 83.
oh,
So I'm content with that, but realize that's coming up pretty soon.
next year's halftime. 42 is halftime for
I
you.
know.
And then 43 on, you're like, okay, third quarter, here we go. We're getting to the end. I love it. Julia, well, I really appreciate the opportunity to kind of chat and get to
Yeah,
know each
thank
other a little bit.
you.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time. It means so much. I'd love to get to Portland more. You know what I mean? That's one of the things that I'm like, oh, I got to get to Portland more. I want to do shows, do all this stuff.
Hit
See
me
the
up. I run a bunch of shows.
Absolutely, I will. That'll be awesome. No, I'm
I'll
and
be
I.
in Eugene in a couple weeks this month. I'll be at Olson Run.
Oh yeah, you're doing Leave Your Troubles. I think I
I
saw.
am.
I love I will try to sneak on every Leave Your Troubles I ever can because it was the most fun I had in the longest time.
I'm very blessed. The first time I did Leave Your Troubles, they did not like me. It was the
Oh,
first one ever. The
oh,
audience booed me because I was being too mean. And then I kind of figured out how to do it and
Yeah,
like what they wanted. And so Chris lets me on it a lot. So
I love
I'm
it.
blessed to do that show.
Well, I love seeing how Eugene crowds respond to your blunt nature because they're Eugenie sometimes.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I know. The only Eugenians that like me are sorority girls. I have not been
Yeah.
able to master anyone else.
Crack through other ceilings, just sorority ceilings. I love it.
Yes.
Cool. Well, yeah, we'll be in touch more. Stick around for a minute after this ends. But if people want to find more of you out there in the world or in the virtual realm, how can they do that?
So it's the Mex and PDX on all social platforms. And I say think about it as the Mexican in the Portland airport. So the Mex in PDX.
There it is. It's Julia. She's walking the PDX grounds all over that carpet. Well, it was a delight to talk to you today,
Yeah,
Julia.
I had fun. Thank you. I love this. More
Yeah.
talk about better health.
I love it too. I'm glad you're on board. I'm going to be excited to see you again very soon. Thanks for
Yeah.
stopping by. Woot woot.
Jokes in the gym. Jokes in the gym. Not jokes in the gym. Jokes in the gym. Jokes in the gym.
With Rudy Tyburczy. But today's fake sponsor is Auntie Ray's Anti-Racist Raisinets. Have you ever had a family member who just spouted bullshit constantly and you were like, shut up, you stink, and your views are garbage? Well, now you just pop a raisinette. Anti-racist raisinets. Put it in this drink. Chuck it in that hot dog. Put it in the potato salad. Then, by the end of the picnic, you'll have people in your family saying things like, whoo, boy, I love all the people in Ohio. And, whoo, doggy, I can't wait until I see my friends from Guatemala. So, if you're tired of your family spouting the same old bullshit year after year, picnic after picnic, then I want you to check out Auntie Ray's Anti-Racist Raisinets. Pop a few in, and you'll be less racist as shit. And that's good for all of us.